When to quit trying to trade publish. I often hear people ask, when should I quit trying to get my book trade published and self-publish it instead? The answer to this question is simple. Never. This belief that self-publishing is what you do when you fail at trade publishing is still very prevalent. It came up at a conference I was just at and was asked by two separate people in the audience. First, let me say that attitude is incredibly insulting to anyone who has chosen to self-publish. Behind it is this attitude that, oh, you couldn't hack it the real way, so you had to settle for this. And I get it. There are people who have given up on trade publishing and self-published. Heck, I sort of started that way. I had short stories that almost sold to pro-paying markets, darnyoutor.com. And rather than move on to the semi-pro or token markets, I self-published those stories instead. I figured I could make more that way. I was wrong. I learned. So I understand where this attitude comes from, but it's a foolish way to think of things. Here's why. As a self-publisher, I not only have to know how to tell an engaging story or write an informative, easy-to-read nonfiction title, which is the same thing you need to get an agent or publisher, but I also have to handle all other aspects of production and marketing. It doesn't matter if you're going to pay someone else to do it or do it yourself. You should still know what it takes to create a quality product and to sell that product. Ask yourself, would you know if that person you just hired to edit your book is a good editor? How? Many self-publishers have found that the person they hired to edit their book was not qualified, only when the bad reviews rolled in. What about your cover? Do you know what kind of cover you need so that your readers will know this is the book for them? It isn't just about having a pretty cover. It's about having an appropriate cover. There's a reason so many romance novels have naked man chest on them. Now, you can hire a cover designer, but most will look to you for direction. You are the one who will need to know when something isn't working. And you'll need to be able to tell that to your cover designer, which is easier said than done. What about colors? Do you know what colors work for your genre? Do they use blues and purples, reds, yellows, black and white with a dash of color? It matters. And are the covers in your genre photo manipulations or illustrated? What fonts are being used? Are they serif or non-serif fonts? And what about the blurb, the description of your story? Can you write appealing back cover copy? Or can you recognize appealing back cover copy if you pay someone else to write it? This is one of my personal weak spots. I took 90,000 words to tell that story, and now I have to boil it down to an enticing 3 paragraphs? You're kidding, right? And then what about categories? Where do you list your book? Do you actually know what you've written? Hint, it's not a romance if one of the people dies before the end of the book. And it's not chick lit if it's dark and gritty. Do you know the difference between nonfiction and fiction? You think I'm kidding, but I'm not. And then there's advertising. Let's assume You wrote a book that people will enjoy, that it has the right cover for the genre, and a strong blurb. Now, how do you find your readers? Where are they? How do you reach them? If you self-publish, it's unlikely that you're going to be in physical bookstores. Despite what some will say, that's just not a common outcome for most self-publishers. So how do you rise above everyone else online to get your perfect cover in front of your perfect reader? I just went to Amazon and chose book releases in the last 90 days. Do you know how many titles there were? 70,000. How are you going to get your book in front of readers when you're competing against 70,000 other new releases, plus the millions of books that are already out there? As a self-publisher, you will need to be able to do everything I just mentioned if you want to be successful. Sure, you can throw any old book up on Amazon with any cover you please. No editing, a horrible description, bad categories, and no ads. Just don't expect it to sell. In which case, why did you bother? Better to spend that money and time in Vegas. And again, I've been there myself. I have thrown that book up on Amazon, and I have had the lack of sales that went with that approach. So I'm not knocking anyone who does that. I'm just saying that it's not going to get you anywhere. So why do it? Now, let's contrast what I just covered with the trade publishing path. If you want to trade publish, all you need to do to get paid money for your book is write a good enough book and a good enough query to sell that book to a publisher. I'm assuming here you're selling it to a publisher who pays in advance. Once you sell that small handful of people, agent, editor, acquisitions board, with the potential of your story, someone else will do the cover and hire the editor. And sure, you'll probably have to do some promotion, but your agent and publisher will be right there working with you on what to do. Not to mention doing their part to get bookstore placement for you and industry reviews. Of the two paths, self-publishing requires mastery of far more skills than the trade publishing path does. Failing at a path that requires you to master skill A, and then deciding to take a path that requires you to master skills A, B, C, D, and E is not going to turn out well. It's like saying, I couldn't complete the half marathon, so I decided to do a triathlon instead. That may work for 1 in a million personalities, but it isn't going to work for most. Now, don't get me wrong. There are reasons to self-publish. Timing, control, and more potential profit are the 3 that come immediately to mind. Flexibility is another. I self-published my first nonfiction title because I had something I wanted to say and knew I couldn't get it trade published. But if you think of self-publishing as what you do when you give up, then you are going to fail there too. So let me give you this advice. Rather than self-publish, write another book. Actually, write 3 more books. Novels. Write 3 more novel-length works. Do not rewrite the same book over and over again. Write new material, ideally in a new setting with new characters. You can stay in the same story world if you want, but brand new people with brand new problems. And pay attention to your market while you're doing this. Read a ton in the area where you want to publish so you can understand what readers want and what they're already getting. Write, read, write, read, write some more. And query those novels. Keep following the trade publishing path. Keep trying to get an agent because that's what you want, right? That's your plan A. Chances are that if you write 3 more novels, you will sell one of them. And congratulations, you'll be on the path you wanted to be on in the first place. No plan B for you, no fallback. You will have worked at the path you wanted enough to succeed at it. It is far better to take all that time and energy you would have spent learning how to be a publisher, editing covers, blurbs, etc., and apply it to being a better writer. Now, I'm not saying you aren't a perfectly decent writer right now. You could very well be technically proficient. Your sentences could all be just fine. But maybe you're missing the mark when it comes to genre. Or maybe the problem is there's nothing unique or new about what you've written that would appeal to an agent or publisher. If you give it 4 tries, the novel that already failed plus 3 more, you are going to be able to narrow in on that goal. And if by then you've figured out that trade publishing isn't for you, you will be much better positioned to succeed at self-publishing. You will know more about the market, you will have more material to publish, which increases the odds of readers finding you, and you'll have a better feel for who you are as a writer. The key here is to realize that if you self-publish now, it will slow you down. You will be taking time you could devote to improving your storytelling and putting it towards learning how to publish instead. And don't even get me started on the amount of time you will lose to excessively checking your sales reports. Self-publishing should not be your plan B. Choose self-publishing because it's the path you want to take. And understand that if you go down that path, you will be putting in a lot of time and energy on things that are not writing. But it won't be 90% of your time, not unless you choose to do that to yourself. Another lovely wrong fact that was given out at this conference I was at.